Thank you for coming here tonight. My name is Dennis Mulrooney. I'm the principal of Parsippany High School, and I'm a class of 1992 graduate. And my mom went to school here in the first graduating class ever, and my two brothers went to school here as well, and they frequently beat me up at that time. So they were in 85 and 87, and my grandfather had a farm that stood right here before the school was built, and now here we are. Many, many years later, and my hair is a lot grayer, but it's great to be here with you tonight, and we're going to recognize three really wonderful people who have done really amazing things. So before I start talking about Bud, Fred, and Steve, I do want to thank some people, and I apologize in advance if I forget to thank or recognize anyone. Invariably, I always do. And real quick anecdote here. Our girls soccer team is in the state playoffs, so they had a game at 2 o'clock in Lyndhurst. So I figured I've got plenty of time to sneak out of school to get to Lyndhurst at 2. I'll leave at halftime. I'll come back. So I drive to Lyndhurst. I get there, and we're up 1-0 at the half. And I'm feeling like my presence has a lot to do with them winning. So if at any point I would have left, the whole game would have been blown. So I'm standing in the spot that I'm standing at. I cannot move. I'm checking ways to see how long it's going to take me to get back. So I'm like 4:15 will be fine. I drive very responsibly back to Parsippany, and I open up my trunk to grab the plaques for the inductees tonight, and the trunk is empty because I was driving around 8 girls for Halloween last night. So I call my wife and I'm coming to get the plaques. I drive up 46. We meet by Morse Catholic. She had dropped them off to me. I come back, and now I'm completely and utterly flustered. So any future flubs are direct results of that, and I apologize for those things. So I want to thank my secretary, Susan Ankper, who's in the back. Susan, can you wave? She's the best. And Susan helps put almost all of this together and keeps me out of trouble on a daily basis. So thank you so much, Susan. And our other secretaries in the main office have been great as far as getting things set up and helping her out. Our custodian set up today, which is always appreciated. I have a couple assistant principals in the back, Mr. Bush and Mrs. Carucci, who, again, do all the dirty work. And as I'm running here late, Keith is setting stuff up and making sure we have a semblance of organization. I want to thank the student staff, administrators, and alumni who compose our Hall of Fame committee. Every year we get always a great list of nominees. And it's really difficult to choose, and I appreciate them undertaking that difficult task. Ron Fresco, is Ron in the house? He's not, but Ron is a big part of that. He's kind of serves as our historian and our spirit animal. So when we want context on people, Ron always lets us know that. We have a mayor here. We have a councilman. We have our superintendent, Dr. Barbara Sargent, in the back, who's wonderful and supports our teachers and students in so many ways. And we've got a lot of former Hall of Fame members in attendance. And I'm going to announce them now, and you will stand up and be rightfully embarrassed when I say your name, okay? So give me 1 second, because I'm going to forget somebody. If I do, just let me know. Okay, so John Kralchik. Nice. Thank you. Mickey Walsh. Mickey Walsh, who was my mother's teacher, too. And she says hi. Jack Pruden. Roy Hemlinger. Robert Peluso. My all-time favorite teacher, Ann Greiner. Joe Burnaby. And Mike Yusunis. I think that's everybody, right? I think so. Thank you for coming. We in the past, we've always just had a big plaque with just names for the Hall of Fame. And over the past year and a half, we went back and found pictures of everybody and researched in every yearbook and online. And if you get a chance afterwards, there'll be individual plaques for every new inductee from now on. And they're over there, and we're really proud of that. And Ron Fresco and I spent a day poring over yearbooks and hearing stories from him, and we finally scraped up the money to pay for that, and it's going to look really nice. So you'll be the first this year's inductees will be the first people to get their plaque tonight, which is really nice. So those were our students, okay? And as alumni, as former teachers, as people who live in town, you should know that PHS is in really great shape. And our kids are beautiful human beings, 99% of them, okay? Now, they're beautiful too, they just drive me crazy. But they're really great, and we're really proud of our academics. Students are going to great colleges, and they're taking challenging courses, and they're succeeding on the athletic fields, on the stage and the arts. And one thing we're particularly proud of is the amount of service that they do. We spend a lot of time exposing kids to service and giving them opportunities to feel good about helping others, and they really tend to eat it up and really respond well and really come out for that in large numbers. So as an alumni, as a former teacher, you should be proud and know that our school is in great shape. After this is over tonight, if you want to stay, there'll be a football game down the field, and we're playing Pequannock, and our inductees are invited to be honorary captains at the game, and we're going to embarrass you further. We're 7-1. If we beat Pequannock tonight, we'll be conference champs. We can clap for that. All right. No pressure. And that would be the first thing for the football banner since 1983, which is really a tremendous accomplishment by our boys. So that's good stuff. So PHS is still a place that you should be proud of. So I'm going to give you some background on our 3 inductees, but not too much, because we do have people speaking on their behalf. So I want to start with Fred Paradise. So as someone who went to Parsippany High School and whose older brothers went to Parsippany High School, and now the principal, I've kind of spent a lot of time researching PHS history and looking at yearbooks, and Fred is someone whose name has come up a lot. And he's from the class of 1980. He was a 3-sport athlete who kind of dominated as a quarterback, point guard, and outfielder for the Redskins. He had an older brother, Al, who's also here. Shout out to Al. And these guys were just really ridiculously good athletes. And probably the coolest thing about it, aside from the records and all the all-conference things, is that according to what Mr. Paradise gave me, Fred won 7 championships over the course of his varsity career, which is really unheard of. That just doesn't happen nowadays. And it's just he's like the Tom Brady of Parsippany High School. And I'm loath to say Tom Brady because I'm a Dolphin fan, but he just won a lot, and it was really, really neat. He won 2 basketball conference championships, 2 basketball sectional championships, a county championship, a conference and state title in baseball as well. He continued to play basketball at Dickinson College, where, shocker, he won another conference championship. Didn't see that coming. So we're going to hear more about you later, but Fred Paradise, our first inductee. Next is Steve Mccarthy, and if you're speaking about wins, you should speak about Steve Mccarthy, because he has 639 career wins as the boys and girls tennis coach here. He coached 40 seasons with the boys, 30 seasons with the girls, taught English for 36 years, coached a little bit of hockey on the side. He connected with his students. He knew the curriculum as an English teacher. He helped many, many, many seniors graduate high school. Okay? Sometimes you would have put them in a headlock and drag them to their final exam. And after retiring, he decided, I miss PHS so much, I'm going to come back and sub. And Steve's been subbing for how many years now? 12 years. Kids absolutely adore him. And he added to his resume Spanish teacher this past fall, as Senor McCarthy covered his Spanish class for 2 months and did an outstanding job. And the kids loved him, and the parents appreciated him. And I know his fellow Spanish teachers were beaming with how well you did. Steve is one of the proudest grandfathers I know. Is always bringing his grandkids in and giving us updates, and is just a really great guy. Last is Bud Weeder. Sadly, Bud passed away last month, and we all miss him dearly. And if you knew Bud, you knew that he was one of the funniest people God ever put on the planet. And when he was with Joe Burndy, that amplified the sense of humor, these two guys. He was an industrial arts teacher at PHS for 26 years after spending some time working in the real world. He's a Par High alum who graduated as a Redskin in 1962. And what I like about looking back at his old high school pictures is he looked like a middle schooler. He looked so young. And I always felt that I looked young in high school, and then I saw pictures of Bud, and Bud made me look like a full-grown man. Just really, really great pictures. Great baseball player in high school, really successful baseball coach here for a little bit, and then at West Morris we had that outstanding coaching career and won a county title, and really is a bit of a legend up there as well. I never knew about this. He was kind of an award-winning model plane pilot, which was so interesting. I never knew that, and you'll see some pictures of that in a little bit. Great sense of humor, like I said, loved by his colleagues and his students. Went to a lot of weddings for former students and really connected with kids, which is what makes a great teacher. So we have three unbelievable people here tonight. High school is a crazy time, and we look back on it so fondly, but when you're in it, it's not always the fondest of experiences. Sometimes there's a lot of pressure. You're making mistakes. You're trying to figure out who you are and what you believe. But one of the most important things about high school is who you connect with, and be it a teammate, a student, your peers, your family. These 4 years in high school are really important, and there's a reason why they stick in our brains so much, and these are the memories that we hold on to the longest. So, Fred, you had an unbelievable 4 years here. So thank you for those 4 years, my friend. Bud had 30 years here, okay? And Steve, how many? What we at? 48, which is just unbelievable. So it's our pleasure to celebrate people who are giving so much to PHS and making their mark. So I do have a slideshow. We have scoured yearbooks and asked people to send us pictures, and I've enjoyed seeing them, and hope you enjoy seeing them too. I would like to warn you that in the 80s, basketball shorts were very short, okay? And you're gonna see a lot of thigh, and a couple pictures of Fred, I think they're very, Larry Bird would be inspired by them. Ron Fresco's in the back, by the way. Hey, Ron. Thanks for coming, my friend. And Steve McCarthy, I had the pleasure of teaching through the 70s, 80s, and 90s, and you will see that his hair reflected that, okay? Steve went through a series of avant-garde hairstyles at that time, often offset by some sweet mustaches. So these are great. And when you get in the Hall of Fame, you have no choice but to be mortified at the old pictures of you, okay? And that's just how we do it. So first is going to be Steve McCarthy, and he'll be introduced by his daughter, Cindy.
Good evening, everyone. Again, I am Cindy Klein. I am a graduate of the Parsippany High School class of 1989. And while I learned a lot while I was here at high school, one thing I haven't mastered is public speaking. So I will make this short and sweet. This evening, I have the pleasure of introducing you to Mr. Steve McCarthy. My junior year of high school, I began the year in Mr. Koralchek's class. Didn't know you were going to be here. I'm glad this is a good one. His college prep English class. It was a tough class. He pushed us hard and required a lot of work. Partway through the first marking period, I requested a switch to Mr. McCarthy's English class. I did this because I'd heard he was a great teacher, he had a fun class, and it could be an easy A. Well, the first two were true, but I certainly don't remember getting A's. He was a great teacher. Junior year was pretty normal with all the usual classes, homework, football games, junior prom. You get the picture. Nothing particularly earth-shattering. All I wanted was an easier year academically, but what I didn't realize was that seemingly small change in an English class would change my life forever. My senior year, my sister Chrissy, I think she was a freshman at the time, had Steve as a teacher. She was in his English class. And Chrissy's a bit more boisterous and outspoken, and she'll talk to anyone about anything, and she'll be all up in your business, more than I will ever be. We're just completely different. Oh, sorry. Wasn't ready for this. One day during any particular class, I'm not sure, Chrissy somehow managed to see Steve's first pay stub. She looked at it and she said, "Yeah, I think you can meet my mom." By this time, my parents had been divorced for a few years, and apparently Chrissy felt it was her job to play matchmaker. So that was October of my senior year. 4 days after graduation that June, Steve married my mom and became my stepfather. He was courageous enough not to only marry the mother that had birthed my crazy sister, Chrissy, but married a woman with 4 children, 3 girls being teenagers and 1 rambunctious son. I'm not quite sure what you were thinking, Steve. But Steve continues to remind me that if he hadn't met me that first year, my junior year, he may not have agreed to meet my mom. Steve jumped right in and became that dad that we all needed. He loved and supported us as if we were his own. He was a Boy Scout volunteer, he was our chauffeur, our ATM, and he even allowed us to borrow his IROC Z28. Sweet car.
I remember that car.
Nice car. I think he was a bit crazy to do that because each one of us messed it up in one way or another. In any event, this man supported all 4 of us through those crazy teenage years, and I know we weren't easy. He walked me down the aisle at my wedding, and when my siblings and I started having kids of our own, he fully embraced the title of Pop-Pop. He was there when my mom, my best friend, was diagnosed with lung cancer. He supported all of us during that awful time, and he held her hand until the bitter end. Over these past 10 years since her passing, he's continued to be the father in our lives that we've needed. He hasn't backed out simply because she's gone or because he isn't our real dad. He is our dad. Who could have known that switching into that easy English class and meeting that cool teacher would have such a profound effect on my life? Thank you, Steve.
Yes, you better. That's your official plaque, my friend. Oh, thank you. So you get a copy for you and a copy will be in the school. Can you just put this Sure. Yeah. There you go.
Thank you, Cindy. Now I'm going to try to talk. First, what I'd like to say is that I'm doubly honored to be included in this class. Fred Paradise is one of the best athletes I've ever seen at this place. That's an honor. And Buddy Weeder is simply one of the best people I ever met. My condolences. I'm sorry. He was a great man. As Dr. Mulrooney said, I'm still here. And I'm usually the happiest person in the building. I think part of that is, part of that, of course, is because I don't have to work. I want to work. I also, for the most part, don't have to grade papers anymore. And it's not that your meetings are bad, because you always tell them, I wouldn't know where your jokes are, but, and I have the meetings, or, I just have the interaction with my friends and, with the kids. When I meet freshmen, and I met a lot of freshmen this year, I always say the same things. I tell them who I am, how long I taught here, and that I coached here, and that I am here because I love this place. Hearing my daughter and how it's affected my life that way, why, one reason why I love this place. But I just wanted to share with you a couple of other reasons why this is such a great place. For the first 6 weeks this year, I was a Spanish teacher. I don't speak Spanish. I learned a lot in 6 weeks, and I had a terrific time, and partly remembered some of the reasons why it was better to be retired, to no papers, to no meetings, and all the rest of that. Okay, and Dennis asked me to come to back to school night so I could explain to the parents who their Spanish teacher was and why I didn't know any Spanish. And it ended up being a great experience because we had about 25 parents. 5 of them were people that I had taught, and I had their kids. It was great. It was like looking through a yearbook live, and I have a fabulous, fabulous night. And another reason, just the other day, I got a call. For subservice, they call you, a machine, they don't call you, people don't call you, a machine calls you, and it tells you when you're going to work. It was a call for January 22nd, next January, for Senora Sylvan, who's the lady that I was in for. And I thought it was very nice that she had asked for me. So I just went back to the class and peeked in and just waved to her, and I said, thank you. And then she explained to the kids why I said thank you. And they cheered. It was just great, and I just want to end with that. I love this place for a lot of reasons. It's been fantastic for my life. I love my family, thank my friends who are here, but it's been just great. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. All right, the bar said hi. That was really nice, guys. Thank you so much. Next, I'm going to call up Councilman Michael DiPiero, who's going to introduce Fred Paradise. Big clap.
Thank you, Dennis. I have to compliment you. Every year when I come here, your slide presentation is a labor of love. I'm sure it takes a lot of time to do something like that.
Just getting it to work is the hard part.
In front of a lot of people. Yes, I agree. Well, a lot of what I was going to say are already in, the stats are in here already for Fred. But what is not in here is his leadership ability. He was a team player. I mean, he motivated the other team players in football and in basketball and in baseball. He motivated the team. And all of those accomplishments that are listed here, okay, did not happen by accident, and he did not do it alone. But he and Al both were motivators and real team players. And I was here then. I was on the school board from 1975 to 1981. And then I moved to the township council. I'm still there. So I know a lot of people in this room. There's some gray hair since then. Ron Fresco and Mickey Walsh were Interact advisors for the Interact class that I started back in 1977 or 78. And Ron, with his history lessons, was always fantastic. He made some of the kids really interested in history. and I remember that too. It's always a pleasure coming back to Parsippany High School, and I still come back. I still enjoy being here. So with no further ado, Fred, congratulations. I'm happy you're here, and thank you for allowing me to introduce you.
Bear with me a minute. This is a beautiful plaque. Mr. DePiero, thank you so much for that wonderful introduction. I know you and your family have always been part of this school and our teams, and you were a fixture at all our games. So I appreciate you and your family. Okay, I'd like to thank the committee for nominated me and inducted me into this Hall of Fame. It's an honor, and along with the other inductees, I'm honored for that too. You know, Mr. Weeder was one of my best friends. I played volleyball with him for 3 years up in Mount Olive after college. So I always stayed in touch with him. So I'm sad to hear that he passed. Okay? To me, this honor is not just about me. It's all the teammates I played with, the teams that competed and won, that we all share in this award. It's not just me. I couldn't do it all by myself, but we had some teams over the years. Okay? I would like to thank all the coaches that I've had. I played 3 sports, so I had a lot of coaches. I'd like to name some of them. For football, it's Mr. Martin, Mr. Yasunas, who's here. I have a phrase that my son knows. I don't know if you remember what it is. We're going live, 100% live. And I still tell people to that day, I've coached basketball, baseball, and I tell all the kids this at that. So I remember you, so thank you. Okay? When I was a senior, there was Mr. Martin retired, and there was Mr. Sadlock and Mr. Adams. That's for football. For basketball, there was Mr. Call. He's passed away, and he was a great coach. My senior year, he left to go coach with the New York Nets. That's how good a coach he was. So I missed him. My senior year was Mr. Hearn, and he was a good coach too and a good friend also. Okay. For baseball, there was Mr. Meehan, and Mr. Cochio, and Mr. Weeder. You know, I think he was my freshman coach, and he was assistant coach all the years. So I'm going to miss him. I thank them all for believing in me, encouraging me, teaching me. And it wasn't just about the sports. It was about life and everything else. You know, so I appreciated that. Mr. Yasunas knows I was a very quiet person, you know, so thank you. I'd like to thank my parents that are here. Like my mom's, oh, there she is, and my dad, for your support. You encouraged me to be the best I could be. I'll always thank you. You know, no matter what the circumstances were, you were always for me and supported me. So I love you both. Okay? I'd like to thank my brother Al, who's here, and my younger brother. He was 8 years younger, so he got dragged to all the games. Anybody who knew him knew he was the basketball halftime entertainment. if you remember, we'd be in the locker room, and we just hear this roar. We're going, what's going on? And my younger brother is running up and down the court, slamming into the walls, throwing baskets up. So we heard, I never saw it, but that was my younger brother. I don't know how many people have the blessing to be able to play all these years with my older brother. It's really because of him that I achieved what I did. His achievements are as great as mine, if not better. You really paved the way for me, Al, and I love you. All right, so thank you. You were like a role model to me, and I tried to live up to his standards. Okay? Finally, I'd like to tell you who my biggest fan was. My high school sweetheart, my beautiful wife, Diana. For all her support, again, it's funny, most of the games, I always heard my wife's voice, except at the wrong times. When I was on the foul line, ready to shoot. Go, Freddie, make it, go, Freddie. You know, we've been together 40 years now, since high school. So I love you. Thank you. All right? Thank you. That's for the committee and everything else. Okay? It's a great award. Appreciate it.
That's awesome. Thank you. Okay. Last, I'm going to call Joe Burnaby, who's going to induct Bud Weeder. Joe, come on up.
Thanks. Thank you. First of all, good evening and welcome. I'd like to congratulate Steve and Fred on being inducted into the Hall of Fame this evening. I'm here to tell you a little bit about Buddy Weeder, his traits and his background. Buddy grew up in Parsippany, across the street, across Route 46 and South Beverwick Road, where Route 80 is right now, and the Lake Hiawatha Whippany exit. Buddy was a mischievous, is that right, Steve? Okay, sorry. English was not my best subject. Was a little bit mischievous in his youth. When they were building Route 80, he would ride his horse. Remember what horses were? Kids out now have cars and mopeds and whatever else you want to call. He would ride his horse along the stakes that were put in there for the survey so that they would start to build the roads. And as he would ride along on his horse, he would pull them out and throw them to the wayside. So that took a lot of time away from the engineers. So his galloping incidents finally came to an end when one of the surveyors found Buddy's dad and told him what Buddy was doing, and the numerous attempts that they had to reconstruct the signs. Back then, he was a very determined and persistent young man. In his youth, Buddy was flying handheld gas model airplanes in his teen years, and he traveled to Texas where he won numerous flying awards and trophies. More on this later. You saw pictures that Dennis put up of his planes. While at PHS, he played many sports, but he excelled in baseball. He played for Coach Jack Mott, who had excellent teams when he was here in the 60s. Upon graduation, he was employed as a draftsman for 11 years at Picatinny Arsenal, where he drew and designed casing shells for ammunition armaments, bombs. He was highly skilled. While at Picatinny,
He played in many baseball and basketball leagues there. That didn't satisfy him, so he pursued better baseball competition by playing for the Mendham Pastime Baseball Club. That is where he met his wife, Betty. Betty's dad was the coach of the team. Not long after that, they started dating, and ultimately they got married. They started their family, and Buddy and Ryan were inseparable. A strong bond was formed, and they were the best of friends, as well as father and son. During that time period, he purchased a house in Randolph at the young age of 20. Think about it. He was a very independent young man. He left Picatinny Arsenal and became a substitute teacher at PHS, and was soon offered a position as architectural drawing and drafting teacher. For the next 26 years, he never took a day off. That's most unthinkable nowadays, right? His room was room 303. In that room, during his class, there was never any talking by his students, and it was never chaotic. Students would enter, secure their drawings, rulers, pencils, sit and work diligently for 40 minutes. He challenged them to draw and design houses, buildings, sheds, with the utmost accuracy and skills available to them. Many of his students attended Virginia Tech University, where they excelled at architecture, drafting, construction, and similar occupations. He was a true perfectionist. While at PHS, he coached many teams, but baseball was his passion. After a few years coaching the freshman and JV levels, the head coaching position at West Morris High School opened up, and he became their head baseball coach for the next 19 seasons. While at West Morris, his teams won county and state sectional titles. Many of his players received county, regional, and state accolades. Many continued playing in college, and others made it to the numerous farm teams for the major leagues. A few players pursued coaching careers in both high school and at the collegiate level. An inspirational coach and teacher. Upon retirement, he once again began flying and building U-controlled planes, ones that are on a cable, metal cable, and stand in one position and rotate and get dizzy and fall down. But not Buddy. He would travel to Stockertown, Pennsylvania with his son Ryan and spend countless hours shaping, sanding, painting, tweaking these designs and aircrafts. He traveled near and far with Betty and Ryan, flying his last plane called Ryan's Eagle. That plane took over 400 hours to complete. I told him on more than one occasion that NASA spent less time putting astronauts on the moon. That was some hard work and a commitment. He also began building a Cobra kit car, which he and Ryan took to numerous local car shows. You remember that car without the body on it? Okay, I'll get to that in a minute. He won awards and trophies with his Cobra. Roy Helmlinger, our auto shop teacher here at Parsippany High, was most helpful to Buddy in the building of his car. But I helped him by putting air in all 4 tires. Thank you. I'll sign anything later on. You just can't drive any car without air in the tires, right? After completing that serious procedure, he checked 3 times to make sure I put the correct amount of air in each tire. I also watched him as he checked, rechecked, and rechecked a 3rd time on any adjustments he was making to other sensitive aspects to confirm that they were done correctly to meet his standards. I asked him, Buddy, why are you spending so much time on such microscopic details? His comment was, I want to make sure that it is done correctly. He was a problem solver. Upon completion of his car, he started a new challenging opportunity, a new house. He designed, drew up plans, and oversaw the construction of his current house in Stillwater, outside of Newton. I traveled there with he and Ryan before construction started. When we finally arrived at the site, I said to him that I didn't know I had crossed state lines and arrived in Tennessee. His current phone number is still 4. Just 4. I helped him with the final outdoor details. I secured the fertilizer and grass seed for him to plant the seed and helped him monitor the growth of his lawn. We discussed on numerous occasions how progress was going and what he should be doing to ensure the best lawn on the block. He achieved tremendous results in the outcome of his lawn. He was a great listener and very proud of his achievements. Now, Betty, Ryan, and Buddy were both Yankee and Jets fans. I don't quite get that, but they are fanatics. They would watch one game and record the other one to view completely, regardless of the outcome. Knowing this, I would call to give them the results and save them the time of watching a poorly contested event. They didn't want to know the results until they viewed both games. Sometimes I feel they tortured themselves by watching some poorly played games, but they enjoyed it. Loyalty. Now I'm coming to what I know best about Buddy, his golf game. I have to take a drink here. Excuse me. Buddy always tried his best and always wanted to play well and contribute, but that wasn't going to happen. Actually, it did on more than one occasion, to his amazement and mine, and Roy's also. We had great laughs at his expense, great moments of kidding, poking fun at him, but he was a trooper and he took it quite well. He was a good sport and a fun guy to play with. You just never knew what would happen when he picked up a club. Playing with him was truly an adventure. One of the phrases that he always said when we played golf was, hit the ball and drag Bud. And that is just what we did on many, many occasions. There are too many humorous incidents with Buddy on the golf course to tell now. If you want more, meet me afterwards. The last round we played together was September 26th, along with former PHS teachers Bill Asdale and Mike Hearn. A few days earlier, Buddy called and said he had a new attitude towards his golf game. It only took him 30 plus years to figure it all out. 30 plus. He said he was just going to hit the ball and not to be so concerned with the outcome. He did just that day and surprised everyone with his improved play that day. The three of us looked at each other and said, "Who is that man? Haven't seen this guy before. Is he for real? And let's just wake him up." He played his blank SS off that day. A true competitor. Now I would like to conclude and remind you of Buddy Weeder's outstanding traits. He was a great listener, a problem solver, a committed, persistent, and dedicated man, a highly skilled, hardworking, loyal, and proud individual, an inspiration to many, a fierce competitor, and most of all, a true family man. Also, I nearly forgot, there wasn't a person that Buddy didn't like, and he never spoke unkind word about anyone, a real class guy. I'm honored to call you my friend and to be presenter for you into the PHS Hall of Fame, class of 2019. And now to accept is his wife Betty and son Ryan.
I wasn't planning on speaking today. It's a little hard, but my husband would have been so proud. Every time someone got nominated, he would turn to me and say, "How come it's not me? I deserve this." Kidding, of course, but he was the best person, of course. I will say that because I'm his wife. Best husband, best father anyone could ever have, truly. And I thank all the teachers here today. Several of his ex-students are here that loved him as much as I did, and all of my family and friends. This is very hard, but very much deserving of my husband. Thank you all so very much.
Wow. I'd like to thank all of the inductees for being here tonight, bringing your family and friends, and your words were really wonderful. Hearing you talk about your teammates and your coaches and your family and your colleagues and your love for PHS is a really beautiful thing. I want to thank all the presenters who have it's public speaking is not fun, but you guys did a really amazing job, and I think you really captured who our inductees are, and made us all feel kind of goosebumpy tonight, which is kind of a nice thing. So it's a great night for all of your families, and we're honored to have you here. So a couple things are going to happen now in the next 50 minutes, okay? We're going to need to get a picture of the inductees together. And usually I always say that, and then we end and people just disperse. It's hard to get everybody together. So maybe as soon as we end, if the inductees come up here, we get a picture, that'd be great. And then if all of the anyone who's in the Hall of Fame could get together too, that'd be nice as well. We'll do those two pictures. And then these are delicious sandwiches over there that I literally woke up and thought about because I knew I'd be eating them. And I've been looking at them for the past hour. So we're going to eat some sandwiches. And if you get a chance, check out the plaques over there. It's nice. You can see who some of the past inductees are and why they're in the Hall of Fame. And then if you're so inclined, there's the home football game. We're going to be announcing our inductees there. They're going to be honorary captains, go out with the team. And that's going to be a nice thing as well. So one last time, thank you to our inductees. Congratulations. We're so honored to have you as part of our permanent PHS Hall of Fame. And we'll take some pictures now, and you guys can mingle and hang out and everything. So thank you.